I just want to tell you a little about the Hale Speaker Series. It was started in 2007 when the Friends of the Library got a grant from the Thomas Glasser Foundation. Our directive was to set up some ongoing program that would honor Ann Hale, who had just recently passed away. I happened to be president of the Friends at that time, so I got to work with Lee Hale to figure out what we were going to come up with, and this is the Hale Speaker Series. So our first speaker was in 2008. We've actually presented speakers for 15 years. We had to take a break during COVID, but over those 15 years, we have had 49 speakers. So Dan is our 50th speaker.
Wow.
I'd just like to tell you who's on our committee. We find the speakers, which you would think would be hard, but Westfield has a lot of very, very talented people. So our committee is Ellie Albertson, Sherry Cronin, Barb Hale, Marcy Lechner, Tina Lesher, and Mary Orlando. Now to Dan, our 50th speaker. First of all, Dan brought a lot of his family and friends with him.
Thank you all for coming. Fill the room. Thank you.
We usually have the same people coming all the time, and I said to Dan, I don't know anybody tonight. So let me just fill you in. Dan will speak for about 45 minutes, and then the last 15 minutes we'll pass around a mic and we can do a Q&A.
Don't pass it over there.
No, don't pass it to his best friend. Right? So Judy, Dan's wife, told me that he's worked in every sport except for lacrosse.
Yeah.
And he's held a lot of really interesting positions in different sports, the back office of many sports. And I didn't understand what any of those positions were. So I look forward to him speaking, and he will fill us in on his illustrious career. Welcome, Dan.
Well, thank you. Wow, Can everybody hear me? I just want to make sure the mic is on. Thank you all for coming, and I sincerely mean this. My family and friends, it means a lot to have you here. You have no idea, and I'm just waiting for the heckling to come on, but thank you. Ironically, and I'm going to start with the story and then we'll get into it. My sports marketing career actually began in the Westfield library. Not this library, but the one across the street when we were, and he knows where I'm going with this, all right? Before there were FanDuel and DraftKings, there was something called TD tickets. And Tom and I, who we'll introduce you in a minute, we were I'm trying to think of the nice way to put it. We ran the gambling services at the Westfield High School. And we used to print our tickets at the Westfield Library, right in front of the police. One of us was the lookout, and one was the printer, and vice versa. It turned out we went up doing it for a couple of years. We actually did pretty good for ourselves. And our parents never knew why. We really didn't have real jobs in high school, but it worked. And amazingly, but I was reminded of the story the other day, so thank you very much, Mrs. Conahini, for that wonderful story. Anyway, Joe, how about we start, and we'll go from there. So, look, I'm here because I'm from Westfield, all right? If I was from Garwood, you wouldn't be here right now. That's the easy Garwood joke, all right? We stick it in, all right? But I'm also very fortunate because I was able to have close to a 40-year career in sports marketing because of Westfield. And it's because of a lot of the people in this room, my family, my friends, the support. It means so much. And the education you get in Westfield has been tremendous. So I want to thank everybody for coming, and I really want to thank you for your interest in what I want to talk about today. Because my career is, look, anybody could have done this. I was just very fortunate to be in the position that I am. So, Joe, let's keep going. I just want to prove that I am from Westfield, all right? That good-looking guy, that's my high school yearbook. I haven't seen that damn thing in 40 years. I had to pull it out, all right? That's me. That happens to be the junior year. They didn't put my senior year until the following one. Oh, my mother has decided to show up. Thank you, Mom. Thank you very much for coming. She makes her entrance into the room. All right? All right, we'll leave it at that. Well, I digress, Mom. Thank you. All right. I do want to say, though, can we go back to that, Joe? There's two things I want to say. One, that I did go to Franklin, Elm Street before it was, there we go, see? My wife now works for the Board of Education. She actually works in my old classroom, all right, which is ironic. But two things. One, the lacrosse team. And I'm glad I have this opportunity. The head coach was Sean Cherowitz. Well, I just want everybody to know, Sean passed away about two weeks ago. And I want my deepest condolences to his family, but I want him to know what an impact he had on me and my family, because all my family, my brothers-in-law, everybody played. And he made a big impact. And when he passed away, you'd be shocked at the text that came along. He busted our chops pretty good, but he looked out for everybody. And I want to thank him. So I'm glad I had the opportunity to do this in public. But I want to get back to how I got started. There was a gentleman named Dick Kraft. Dick Kraft was the vice president of the Yankees. Ironically, we wound up knowing his daughter through my friend Tom. They worked together many, many years later. Dick was my inspiration to get into the business. He was a family friend, wonderful man. And I said, God, if I could ever someday work for the Yankees and, hell, sell tickets, do something, I would love to have his job. To this day, I still really don't know what Dick did for the Yankees. He was really George Steinbrenner's right-hand guy, is what he was, and he was pretty high up there. But he always looked out for me as I went through my career, and I would call him, and he would give me advice. I just want to thank him. Unfortunately, he passed away several years ago as well, but I'd be remiss for not acknowledging him. So, I want to start this. Anybody's a Giant fan, put your hand up. Thank you. Anybody go to Giant games? Okay, thank you. Well, that doesn't surprise me. But I was with the Giants for 20 seasons. They were great to me. This is the video that is played right before the players come on the field. I want to show this to you. Because what a lot of people think, and I start my presentations this way, is what I do or sports marketing starts after this. It really starts all before this. All right? And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So, Joe?
Play for one another, man! They hit you, hit them back! He's got 4 men in his back, take it down to the 17. And throw the uppercut. Struck by Michael Strahan, and what a catch by Tyree! Going in like a bunch of crazy dogs. Neighbors makes a diving catch, touchdown! Intercepted by Okereke. Hit by Burns, bubbles. Giants recover it. Running to the end zone and in for the touchdown. You know what I saw? New York Giant pride right there.
Crowd goes nuts, and the game starts. All right? Joe, let's go to the next slide, if that's okay. No? So, before we get into the Giants, which I'm going to focus most of on because that's where I spent really the last 20 seasons, just want to show you where my career is. It's a little eclectic, to say the least. All right? But I started out when I got out of college, and my first job was with the New Jersey Nets. All right? From the Nets, I went to WFAN, where I was very fortunate enough. I had the best job in the world. WFAN at the time was brand new. I was one of the newest employees at WFAN when they first started out. I had the best job in the place. They were losing money hand over fist, but a lot of people don't realize. Me and a guy named Louis Schreck, we ran the New York Mets radio sales. We were the only place that made money in the place. And very fortunate, so I was able to learn the business from there. From WFAN, I went to WABC, which at the time was a pretty conservative radio station. And again, Bob Grant was on there, et cetera. But again, I had the best gig in the world. I ran the Yankee radio sales. So I didn't have anything to do with that. But to show you how long ago it was, John Sterling had just started out, and it was Michael Kay's first year on it. So me, John, and Mike became really very close friends after all these years. So John retired, as everybody knows, this year. And it was just one of my things I'm very proud of, that we started that thing. together. From there, I went back to WFAN because ABC lost the radio rights. Took the Giant, and they had just taken the Giant rights in-house. So at WFAN at the time, I ran sports sales. FAN owned the rights to the Mets, Yankees, Giants, Jets, Knicks, and Rangers. So when I'm a young guy, I have a young family, I lived at sporting events. Sounds like a glamorous job. Try doing that. That was every night I did this. I lived literally at games. I didn't see anybody, all right? But trust me, there's worse ways to make a living. But it's tough, and it's a challenge. But because of that, I was so fortunate. I did. I took I called it a sabbatical. I worked for Nascar for a couple of years. And our office was in the city. And they started a media division, which I was fortunate enough to start out. Brand new. We created this thing, and it's still going strong, NASCAR Media. Again, something I'm pretty proud of. The guy that was my boss over there left, and he became the president of the New Jersey Nets. I went back to the Nets. Our job was to basically take the Nets, because we knew we were losing money, and move them to Brooklyn. So I was on the team that moved the Nets to Brooklyn. Trust me, how many Nets fans are here that went? That's why we moved to Brooklyn. All right? We did the naming rights deal. We built an arena. I learned a ton. It was a great experience. But honestly, I really didn't want to go to Brooklyn. And I wanted to stay in Jersey. And I was fortunate enough to go back to the Giants. And the Giants had just taken all the media rights in-house. And it was just a great time to go. My first year back to them after working there for a long time was 2007. So you're talking about luck. They went to the Super Bowl that year and won. So it was a very lucky run. Went to another Super Bowl, had an amazing run. Then the last couple of years have been, all right. And then we're going to talk about the FIFA World Cup in a little bit, because that's where I am now and how I transitioned to that. So what I want to talk about today, if we can, just to goal set a little bit, is, look, we're not going to get into the intricacies of sports marketing. We're going to just talk about kind of when I started out, what it was like to where it is now, where some of the trends are. And hopefully, maybe, if I'm lucky and I do my job right tonight, you may learn something a little about why things are being done that you probably don't even realize and how we're getting there. So that's the goal. There will be a test afterwards, so please take notes. I'm kidding, of course. All right. So I started out with the Nets in '87, and I just used the Giants, the same thing. If you look at the values of the team, $32 million for the Nets, Giants $288. Because of my brilliant marketing, they're now worth $4.8 billion and $7.3 billion, which is staggering. All right. The Giants, and I know someone will check my math on this, have increased 15.3 million% since Tim Mara bought the team for $500. Pretty good investment. The average NFL team right now is worth $5.7 billion, and all 32 teams are valued at $4 billion. Incredible. I'm going to try to explain how that is a little bit. So let's talk about the Nets. But by the way, one more thing. I should have said this. When I started with the Nets, I actually called the guy that I work with in '87. I said, God, how many people were working for the team at the time? And he goes, I think you were the 29th employee of the whole team. Literally, okay? He went and pulled out the old media guy. He goes, damn, you were right. You were the 29th. They have 29 employees. I checked today before I came here. They have over 200 employees now. That's the Nets. When I started with the Giants, I was only the third person hired ever in marketing. I did my contract with the Giants was the first commission contract they ever had in the history of the team. I was the only person ever to get commissioned. And so that just showed you how the world has changed so much since '87 and '97. Right now, our marketing department at the Giants is gigantic. I think we have 30 people just in marketing now. Crazy. Let's talk about how NFL teams make money, because this is, hopefully you find this interesting. So Most teams make most of their money, 67% of the money comes from, it's called league-wide shared revenue. That shared revenue is mostly television, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it's also licensing for if you buy a jersey or something. Everybody says, oh, the Giants are gonna lose so much money because Barkley jerseys aren't gonna be sold anymore. We never cared about that because all of the licensing revenue goes into a big pool and it's shared by all the teams. All right? Local revenue, which is what I ran for the team, which is your tickets, your general admission tickets, clubs, suites, concessions, media. So if you listen to a game on the radio, or we do a bunch of shows on MSG, all of our digital, social stuff there, and then gate receipts. All right? What makes the NFL unique is 34% of the game is split. So the visiting team gets 34% of the gate. That's a big reason. And again, the league just changed this. But if you ever notice, they play games over in Europe now, right? They would look at the opponent, look who they are. The teams that sell the most tickets are always visitors. So that's why Jacksonville's over there mostly. Their struggle at the gate. So the league comes and buys the teams out. You have to show them what your gate receipts are. They want teams that struggle at the gate. They put them over there. It's cheaper. They don't want to have a Giant game because we're 82,500. That's a lot of money that they have to make up. Giants are always the visiting team. But league-wide revenue. I want to. This is kind of an important story. I want to bring out. So the NFL years ago, in the 60s, used to be like baseball. And a lot of people don't realize this. But the Yankees own the territory. They have the Yes Network. They make a fortune on that, right? That's a problem with baseball, is because teams are still, they each have their territories and they're very protective of it. The NFL used to be the same way. The NFL realized in order for us to really succeed, we need to band together. And so they pooled all of their rights together. And so each team gave up their own territory for the common good, and that's how they did it. The guy that did it, and he does not get the credit he deserves, was Wellington Mara, the owner of the Giants. Wellington was the guy that did that. And because Wellington understood that it's stronger together than by individual, even though he probably could have made a killing just running the Giants in there, that's what the NFL is today. So Wellington's nickname was the Duke. All right, can I see that ball? Thank you, Jude. So if you ever watch an NFL game or an NFL football, some people may know this, some people may not. The name of the ball is the Duke. It's on every NFL game. It's because of Wellington Mara. That was his nickname. That's how much the league cared and cherished them. So he was a wonderful man. He was great to me and my family. The Maras were great. Just remember that whenever you see an NFL game and it's the Duke. So let's talk about where the league is going, and not just the league, but kind of in general where things are going, okay? So these are television households. My niece is here, so she'll get a kick out of this, but look, when we were buying a house or your first apartment, what was the first thing we used to get? TV, cable television. Guess what? That's not happening anymore. It reached a peak in 2012 of 103 million. It's almost cut in half right now, all right? That is where the trend is going, all right? So let's go to the next slide. And that's where the league gets most of their money. This is now the current NFL television deal. This is this year's snapshot. Fox is the only one that they have on there. It's linear. So linear means that is channel 5. It's your network. Okay, it's not your cable. That's linear. Fox is the only one that's paying $2 billion. The reason Fox pays that much is they get the bigger market games. So they get a lot of the Giants and the Cowboy games. So they're willing to pay a little bit more of a premium. CBS, though, paying the same amount of money, but what CBS is doing is they're building the Paramount Network around the NFL, which is a streaming service, because that's where everybody's starting to go. Comcast, Peacock, same thing. They're paying the same rights as Fox, but they're trying to build Peacock up. if you saw what NBC did with the Olympics this year, NBC spread the Olympics around every damn platform you could find. They were putting water polo on every one of their channels. It was all over the place. They made a killing, NBC. The guys over there made a fortune. And what they did, and we'll talk about that, talk about it in a minute, is they aggregate the audiences, and we'll talk about that. But Disney, ESPN Plus did it. By the way, in a way, I'm kind of glad about this for a second. I just want to talk about this. I hate the fact that, I'm a football fan first. I hate the fact that they put 2 games on Monday night. It drives me crazy, all right? ESPN did 2 games this year. They put one of them on ESPN Plus, which was a linear service, and frankly, it didn't do well. It's the first time that they've ever put stuff out there. Fans were fed up with it. They're like, I'm willing to watch my game on TV, but I'm not willing to switch over to do this. So in a way, I kind of hope that trend goes away. Amazon's building a franchise around Thursday Night Football. They're paying $1 billion for 1 game a week. YouTube, they moved the DirecTV Sunday Ticket program away from AT&T and DirecTV. It's now on NFL Sunday Ticket. They're paying $14 billion over 7 years. And then last year, the NFL tried an experiment to compete against the NBA, and they put games on Christmas Day. It went through the roof. They whooped the NBA in ratings. So what did they do? They went and sold the package to Netflix. So you're going to get your 2 Christmas Day games on Netflix this year at $75 million. They're actually doing it in a deal with Paramount. So the CBS is going to pick up the production of it, but the games will be on there. But let's look at the future of this, okay? Because this affects everybody in the room. If you're a sports fan, this is going to affect you. So if you're watching this, first of all, my father passed away about 1.5 years ago. I still miss getting the phone calls from my father. Where the hell are the Yankees? I can't find them tonight. They're not on Yes, they're not on. Dad, they're on Apple. All right. All right. But the reason they're on there is because they're trying to grow their platforms. And that's what they're doing. But now what you're going to be able to do is get the games. And ESPN's done a brilliant job of this with college football, where you can watch the exact same game, but it's on 5 different platforms. All right? They'll do a coach's version of it. They will do a radio version of it, of the home teams. They'll slice this thing up, but they will target each of the shows to a different audience. So it's the exact same game. They're just getting multiple bites at the apple on it. Nickelodeon does an amazing job with it targeting kids. All right? Nickelodeon is part of Paramount. It all works together and how they're doing it. But essentially, rights holders are going to aggregate the audiences, and then they sell it to them. And now, that's how they do it. That's the future of where this is going. All right? Next slide. So let's look at some other trends that I think you might find interesting. And TV is one big thing with the NFL, but this affects pretty much everything. We already talked about the broadcast and streaming digital, but a couple of important ones. Teams used to lease their stadiums. The Giants did not own the Giants Stadium. It was run by the New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority, all right? Which they bonded over God knows how many times, all right? But the Giants went and purchased the land, and they built the stadium themselves. They own it now. That's the future. Now it's naming rights. They don't have to worry about a landlord. They can control it. One of my frustrating things is, one, the Giants did PSLs. Whether you're a fan of personal seat licenses or not, that was done because the Giants and Jets didn't take a dime worth of public money to build MetLife Stadium. I think we did a poor job of explaining that to people. But their theory was, we're going to build the stadium, we'll pay for it, but we're not going to ask people who can't come to the stadium to pay for it. And to their credit, that's where PSLs come from, because that helped alleviate the debt. All right? The other thing that happened, and we talked about it earlier about revenue share, is general admission tickets are shared with the visiting team. But suites, clubs, Your premium seating is kept by the home team. You keep 100% of that revenue. So that's why new stadiums are built. They don't build 100,000 seat stadiums anymore. They build usually smaller ones, but loaded with suites and clubs and premiums, because you keep that. You don't have to share that money. You also you charge people a little more money to go as well. Paper tickets. You're not going to see paper tickets anymore. Giants were one of the last teams to not do it, and the reason was our fan base tended to be a little older, all right, and we thought that the adoption would be a challenge. But it's now 100% digital, all right. The reason it's digital is they can track you now. The second a ticket is given to you, it's on your phone. They have your number. They know how to get in touch with you. They know where you live, all right, and they can market directly to you. That's valuable information. That gets to fan research. When we did this, we used a company called Scarborough Research. And it was a shot in the dark. The people did surveys, and I could make stuff look brilliant that we can attract all these people. I loved it. Now, we literally can say we know exactly where Giants fans live. If we want to do something with Buffalo Wild Wings, we can do a targeting around every Buffalo Wild Wings on game day. The second a Giant fan drives by, ping, go in and get a beer after the game. That's what's happening now. It's all analytics and AI. That is the future. And it's, by the way, that's on the business side. I can tell you the football guys have been doing it for years. Might not look that way with the Giants the way they're playing, but I can assure you the Giants have an amazing staff that all they do is research, develop. It's incredible how much effort goes into that. Title IX. This is an important thing, all right? Title IX in the 70s it opened up women's athletics. So if you wanted to go to school, any college getting federal funding had to give the same amount of money to men's athletics as to female athletics. And there was some consternation when it happened, but the reality is, look what's happening now. Last year, the NCAA women's tournament had higher ratings than the men. All right? The NWSL is here with the New York Gotham. They won the championship last year. The WNBA, it's exploding. I was watching NBC over the weekend, and they had a women's volleyball game on NBC. I'm like, what is this doing on a Saturday at 4 o'clock on national TV? The place was packed. And it was really an amazing thing. And then they interviewed a guy, there's not going to be a women's professional volleyball league. It is exploding, all right? And that's really the future. Sponsor categories. When I started out in selling sponsorships, it was old school, man. I mean, we were beer and cars and autos, and that was it. And, you know, now, look what they got. They have crypto. They have gambling. Cannabis is going to be in the future of this thing. It's opening up. One of my proud claim to fame is when I was at NASCAR, I introduced liquor sponsorships into NASCAR. Very proud of that, actually. Because NASCAR is old school, man. They were just the beer guys, whatever. And we wound up doing deals with Diageo and you name it. We did it, and it's been great. They were very afraid of, honestly, drunken driving and looking that way. And to their credit, they've actually done a really good job monitoring that. Something that just happened in the NFL, but other sports have. And this, I'm telling you, has a major effect on where sports is going to go in the future. One is individual and family ownership. Up until really this year, the only way you could buy an NFL team, other than the Green Bay Packers, which were a very unique setup, is you had to be a very wealthy individual that could write a check for billions of dollars, all right? They are now allowing people to come in and private equity. In the NFL, you can get 10% of a team now. So let's assume for a second, and the sports industry is $1 trillion industry. 10% of that now can go to private equity. And who knows what that's going to do. It could be a complete game changer. And then really, this is the last one, and it will dovetail right into our FIFA World Cup discussion, is domestic versus international. The NFL was strictly just a U.S. sport. They tried to introduce minor league spring football in Europe a while ago, but for the most part, it was very U.S.-centric. I mean, think of the World Series. Played in the U.S., it's not a world game, right? The NFL now is playing over in Europe. I was fortunate enough when I was with the Giants, we played the very first game, regular season game in London against the Dolphins. They've since played 3 other ones. They played over the weekend in Germany. Teams are now expanding into Germany. So NFL teams now, the Giants, every NFL team, you can go and pick a market where you want to go. You have to invest in that market. But now you're going to be able to go, and that's your new territory. So the Giants chose Germany, which is why they're over there. But it's crazy. But let's put it this way: U.S. teams, U.S. leagues are moving overseas and around the world. NBA is huge in China. Major League Baseball is huge in Korea and Japan. It's also going the other way, where international leagues are now coming here saying, "Hey, wait a minute. You got this gigantic market over in the U.S. We're going to come take a piece of it." So last year, the Premier League came over and played summer league games. So it's essentially their spring training or preseason games in the U.S. We had a game over at MetLife Stadium. Manchester United, 82 complete sellout for a preseason game. All right. But that comes into the next step, which is the biggest game in the world, which is, let's put it on here, the World Cup. So let's play this real quick and then we'll get into it. My new baby. The 2026 World Cup is coming to the U.S., Mexico, and Canada, so North America. We are hosting New York and New Jersey, the finals. All right? Well, thank you. I think so. We're going to finish, but honestly, we're very proud of this. And I was very fortunate. I was with the Giants for a long time, had an amazing opportunity to come on board on the host committee, which we're going to talk about, and help bring the World Cup to New York and New Jersey. We'll walk you through kind of what this means to our region and how it's coming. But my job, I'm the chief commercial officer, so I have to go out and raise a lot of money, guys, to pay for this. And by the way, if anybody wants to talk about that, talk to my wife. She's taking names, and we'll please, Judy, make sure, let's check the room. But this is where it's going to be, a little snapshot. So this is going to be the biggest World Cup. And by the way, forget World Cup for a second. This is going to be the biggest event, not sporting event, biggest event ever coming to the U.S. and in New York. It's massive. So 3 countries, 16 cities. This is the most teams because it's been expanded to 48. And 104 matches taking place over 39 days. Again, we're hosting the finals here in New York and New Jersey. So my NFL background here, this kills me to say this, but these are all the Super Bowls for the last 10 years. The viewing audience for the finals of the World Cup is going to be bigger than all of them combined. Wow. And by the way, people think it's going to be even higher because of when the game will be played. Last time it was played was in Qatar. It was on I think it was a Saturday morning was the finals. It was a really weird time frame. When they play it in New York, when we play it here at MetLife Stadium, it's going to be in prime time over in Europe if they do it right. So you're going to be prime time all over the world. And you get the right teams in here. They think 1.5. There are people saying it could be 2 billion people could be watching the finals. It's going to be amazing. So these are the matches. All right. So a little peek under the hood. We have 5 group stage matches, which we just don't know what they're going to be yet. But every one of these are going to be completely sellout. Then we do the round of 32, the round of 16, and then the finals. This finals, and this is our governor here, but it's true. It's like, this is like 8 Super Bowls, the economic impact. I'm going to talk to you about that for our region, which is why we're doing this. Look, it's great. We all love soccer or sports. The reality is we're doing it for one reason. Let's go to the next slide, Joe. Oh, that's not our region, but there's one side. We're going to bring in $2 billion of economic impact. There it is, $2 billion plus in economic impact. It's going to create 14,000 jobs, and over 1 million visitors are going to be coming to New York and New Jersey. Crazy. We also happen to be in the middle of Philly and Boston. So when people come in, what we're finding out, we're talking to these major operators. They're coming in and using New York as a hub. So when they come in, they can go to Boston, they can go to Philly. It's easy from the airports, they can fly in. But when people come here, they're going to want to stay in New York over the 39 weeks and be able to fly around and go to all the different ones. It's going to be amazing. Can we go back to 2 more slides about the region, Joe? Because this is important. So I was involved, fortunate, when the Super Bowl was at MetLife Stadium. I knew someone was on the Super Bowl host committee too, right, Tom? All right. But when it was here, one of the things we learned about it is there was a activation in Times Square, so that everybody, that was the big thing. You went a block away from Times Square, I swear to you, didn't even know it was there. All right. I've been to other hosts. I've been to, very fortunate enough, a lot of Super Bowls in the cities we were in. The Super Bowl takes over a city. It consumes it. The only city that was too big for the Super Bowl was New York. It legitimately was lost here. And it made it even worse in New Jersey when they invested in it. You didn't even realize the Super Bowl was here. So one of our charges that we've gotten from the governor and from the mayor of New York is we need to make sure that the outer boroughs are covered, so that they need to feel just as important as Manhattan does. And we built this amazing plan. But we are building something in New Jersey that you wouldn't believe. We're going to be hosting at Liberty State Park a fan fest that's going to run for 39 straight days. And we're going to have 50,000 people a day there. All right, that's how big this thing is. All right, we are also going to be doing 8 smaller versions of that throughout the region. And then we're trying to do something in every county in the state of New Jersey. Everybody needs to feel it. If it doesn't, we failed. So we have to make sure that we pay for it, and we have to make sure that everybody feels that the benefit of this. Because tickets are going to be hard to get. And not everyone's going to be able to get a ticket, but we need to make sure, because that's critical to the success. So I'm on the host committee. So a lot of people don't know what the hell a host committee does. I left the Giants. Oh, is that a precursor of things to come, Joe? I don't know. No, sorry about that. But what the host committee does is we have to be the ones. FIFA comes in and they are running the tournament. So they're the ones putting the players, the coaches, the games on, etc. That's what they're doing. We are, in each host city, is responsible for basically everything else. That comes from the police, the fire, the transportation, to putting on all these major events. We're responsible for not only running it, but we also have to pay for it. So we are actively out talking to really, and been very fortunate, some of the biggest companies that we have here that really have a vested interest in the region, and they're going to help us underwrite a large chunk of this. So God willing, this time next year, we're going to be in really good shape. But these are all the different things that we're responsible for, all right? And people don't realize that. So transportation, fire, the festivals are gonna be amazing. So even if you don't get a ticket to it, we're gonna make it so that it's gonna be like a concert every night where you can come. And then we're gonna do the finals in Central Park, which is gonna be really cool. So I tell everyone, it just shows you my age, that I said it's gonna be like when Simon and Garfunkel came in. And good, finally, this room gets it. Most of the time, it's just like crickets in meetings, all right? But that's what it's gonna be like. It's gonna be really cool, so. I think that's it. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Do we have any questions? I'm not sure, is this working? Yeah.
Thanks very much. 2026 is the 250th year of
This country, yes.
country. So, you know, with the new showman that's coming back into office, you gotta think he's gonna wanna put on something. I remember 1976 was a big event in New
Yeah.
York. Do you have any insight into is it gonna be any competition with that? Is it gonna be cooperation?
That is a great question, and it's one that we've gotten ahead of, all right? And one that, frankly, we were planning it, we're like, oh, we'll figure a way to do it. We are working very closely with, there's two of them. There's one in I'm just drawing a blank on the names of the actual committees, but there's one for New York City, and the state of New Jersey has one. That's just planning. We are working very, very closely with them to make sure that it's seamless, that we're working together on it. For example, where Liberty State Park is right now, it's right on the water. So New York, right now, I'm not giving away any real trade secrets, but they're looking to bring back the tall ships, where they're gonna go. And New Jersey wants to do a major event. So we're working with them, and you'd be surprised, the logistics are touchy, but we're working with them, and we're gonna give them space where we are, and we're actually trying to help each other out. But we totally get it, and it's gonna be an amazing day that happens. Yeah, it's gonna be really busy. And by the way, in Philadelphia, it's quite interesting. Philadelphia is doing a big thing down there as well, and they're the July 4th game in Philly. So we're all coordinating the whole thing with Philly, us, and New York.
Hi, great presentation.
Thank you.
I was involved in actually the 1990, 1994, 1998 World Cup
Yeah.
as I worked for a company that sponsored them.
What company? Can I talk to them?
MasterCard.
I know that. I talked to them the
And
other
they
day.
gave
Yeah, Mike
out
Robertson.
sponsorship.
Yeah.
But 1990 was in Italy, 1994 was the US, 1998 was France. Now in Italy and France, it's a very contained country, so it's very easy to get from match to match. And you had a lot of local support. 1994 was a little challenging. I sat in the World Cup final in LA and there were empty seats all over the place. So my question to you is twofold. One is, how do you overcome the geographic distance that you have for the United States? It's huge. Are there gonna be different types of groups coming to the different matches? And the second thing is, how do you avoid the mistakes that they had in 1994?
All good questions. I'll try to break it down for you. One is each host city. We're trying to get ahead of it. So we certainly are learning a lot from what happened in past tournaments. One of our challenges this year, but it's also I think going to be a benefit, is how they're doing the tickets. What FIFA did is they've gone and outsourced to a company called On Location. They're selling all the tickets for every one of them. So there's one source that you can get them. Then the host cities, which is us, we're working with them to coordinate for our area. All right. So the tickets won't be a challenge. All right. But what we're doing, and I referenced this, and if I didn't explain it properly, forgive me. But a lot of people are coming in here and using New York City and New Jersey as a hub. So they're going to come here, and once they find out where their teams are playing, that's where they're going to go. They're also going to know in advance where their teams are playing. So New Jersey and New York, there's going to be 4 or 5 maybe, I think, teams that they're called home bases here, that they're going to stay here, and they're going to try to do it. Like if Germany is playing at MetLife Stadium, they're going to be camped in New Jersey somewhere. That's going to go on around the whole country. They're going to try to do that. And then obviously we'll consolidate when they win or lose or where that's going to go. But you're right, it's a challenge, but what we're finding is fans that have the means, they find a way to get there. And that's what we're trying to work. Does that answer your question? If it doesn't,
It should be interesting because I know the US has developed 20 years. A lot more people like football than they did 20 years ago, so.
the interest for tickets is staggering, that's all I can say. And I've been involved with Super Bowls and when the Giants are, and I know what it's like when that demand happens. Wait till these tickets is gonna be, not a lot of them are gonna be available.
So how are they allocating them? Does the host country get more allocation?
No, each host city gets a certain allotment that you're allowed to, that we can purchase. All right, FIFA is unbelievable. I mean, they don't, we have to buy our own tickets. All right, we get a certain percentage of the building, and then we have to divvy it up between our supporters, and that's how we're generating revenue. So if you want to come on board and be part of it, we'll get you some tickets, but that's how it works.
Who arranges for the practice venues?
For the teams,
Yes.
we started the process where we had to go out and FIFA sets up certain guidelines that you have to use. There has to be 2 full-size practice fields. They have to meet certain FIFA standards of the quality of the grass. There has to be rooms for for media. It has to be hotel accommodations and local areas are bidding on it. And I have to be careful. I don't want to say where they're going to be, but you'd be surprised. And there's not that many of them, but that can really accommodate it because they're that hard. The standards are that difficult. We went out, we scouted it, which I can't believe I was actually doing this stuff, going, looking at grass. I don't know anything about any of this stuff. But it was kind of neat just to be part of the experience. And all we could do was go make the recommendations to them. And then once the teams find out where they're going to be located, then they'll decide where they want to be.
So talking about the tickets, is there anything that can be done to kind of rein in the scalpers in the secondary markets and try to make the tickets more accessible to the average fans?
Yeah, I hope you'll like this answer, but you might not like it. Every one of the tickets is digital. There's no paper tickets now. All right? So the only way you're going to be able to get a ticket, and even the ones that we get, we have to sign that we will not resell them, where they will be pulled immediately. If they find out that you do it, it's all digital. They just wipe it out. So you may be able to go buy something from a scalper, but your ticket won't be able to get into the stadium. No, they really have done an amazing job. I guess the way to look at it is, we have a certain amount that we're going to be able to use to pay for a premium if you want to be a supporter or sponsor of ours, a donor. But there are people that will be packaging them into big hospitality packages, so you get hotels, etc. And so you are paying an upcharge on that. But the actual face value of the ticket, first of all, the prices they've already factored that into their decision. They tried to take that secondary market out of it. But yeah, so hopefully that will help. But the challenge isn't for the average fan because scalpers are getting it. Is there's so many mouths FIFA has to feed, from the broadcast partners to the host cities to the sponsors. It's crazy how that is. But there will be some type of lottery system, from what I understand, for the average fan to get them, and I think it's going to be sometime next year. But that's all I know at this point.
What do
Yes,
you
sir.
think the pricing of the tickets is going to be?
A lot.
Where do you think it's going to start? I mean, you're talking $500, $2,000?
No, probably a little more. And it really, how the pricing them, I'll just be blunt with you, is the group stage matches are going to be lower the higher you go up. We have the finals in New York and New Jersey. The prices I've seen for the finals are unbelievable, all right? Because they know that they can do it, it's thousands of dollars, all right? But there's people that'll pay it, just like at any Super Bowl, all right? It's just how it's going to go. But they'll be market priced, and they are. We don't control it, unfortunately. But yeah. Yes, sir.
So I have 2 questions. So, with all those great New York teams that you covered, is it true you asked your wife to marry you at a net game?
Yes, and he was there when I did it. So yes, I started my career at the New Jersey Nets, and my wife still to this day has never let me live it down. But I was able to do it because I was so lucky. Back then the games were on Sports Channel and there weren't a lot of people watching it. We did it at a timeout, and I knew all the guys on TV, so I was able to have my wife or her families all watch it on TV. And it went up on the video board, and the great Tom Conahee brought down a dozen roses, and my wife was there. And yeah, thank you very much. Yes. Wonderful memory.
And she said yes, and it was
She said yes.
so.
God, no.
So one serious question, Dan. You know, and you and I've talked about this, but I never asked you this about FIFA. Just watching that there's going to be, as you said, 1.5 billion people watching this as a final, maybe up to 2 billion, right? So as Giant fans all our life, but growing up in New Jersey, it always kills me personally when it's New York Giants, New York Jets, when every one of their games is played in New Jersey, right?
Yes.
So here we are again, New York, New Jersey, right? And obviously they have New York City, and that's awful tough to compete with. But how are you going to make sure that New Jersey is showcased when 1.5 billion people are watching this, plus all the other games and people coming here? Because it would be great for New Jersey not to be the ugly stepsister in this.
Well, Governor Conahee, and I really mean this. Governor Murphy legitimately, good or bad, cares about this like you wouldn't believe. All right? When I got the job, I had to interview with him in his place. I mean, they are vested in this tremendously. And everything that we're doing, literally from the Fan Fest, which will be every day, that's where we're going to have the broadcasters from Fox and Telemundo. They're going to broadcast. We want them in New Jersey. All right? We're trying to get as many of the teams to stay in New Jersey so that the money that comes in and the economic impact is coming here. Just so everybody knows, the name of the stadium is every stadium is going to be clean. Literally, FIFA's coming in and taking the names off the building. So it's MetLife Stadium will not exist. All of the sponsors in the building will not exist. They're covering them up. The name of the stadium would be New York, New Jersey Stadium. That's how they're going to refer to the region. We also made it, and if you look at our logo, I don't know if we have, but we don't even have a slash in between New York and New Jersey. It was done for a reason. It's because we are pitching the entire thing as one unit. But one funny aside, because this may help, is when I was with the Giants, we would tell people our territory went down to Trenton, all right? And I always say, it's Trenton right across, right through Long Beach Island, right in the middle of Long Beach Island. The Eagle fans are south and whatever. You don't want to advertise a Giant game in Camden, all right? Any more than you want to have the Eagles up here by us. With this, we have the entire state of New Jersey, all the way down to Atlantic City. So we have to promote it. We're going to be doing things in Atlantic City. We're talking about stuff on the boardwalk. We're working with the Philadelphia host committee down there very closely to make sure the southern part of the state feels it and the part of it, all the way up to the entire state. We're talking about doing something in every county where we're going to put soccer balls and maybe do some big, you have to visit each one of them. If you do, you win swag. We're trying to encourage all of that. But it's critical. And if we don't, like I said, that would be a failure on our part. Yes, Joe.
I got a question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can call me Joe. We've known each other since grammar school, so that's okay.
I probably pretend I don't know him.
Meanwhile, she put New Jersey in front of New York since most of it's happening here. But I figured following along the Conahee Trail here.
Mr. Connecticut, okay.
Yeah. As a soccer guy myself, growing up and playing the game, I was extremely disappointed when Giant Stadium was built because they built it with turf, football dimensions. So I was excited to hear that we're getting the final. What are they doing to make it regulation FIFA size? Because the soccer field is bigger than a football field, and then there's the difference between turf and grass.
Yep. Good question. What we're doing, and as part of the host committee, we're paying for it. We did last summer. We made 2 sections of the stadium. We actually took them out and made them removable, all right? Which the average fan will not see this, but we made it so that when they put the field in, it will meet FIFA standards. It turns out we were one of the few cities after doing it, we're one of the only ones that are really gonna meet it. The standards, okay? Yeah, yeah, and the turf requirements, I swear to you, we're in a meeting with all these guys. The guy goes, let's talk about the turf. The manual is like this. I'm dead serious. I go, oh God, this is gonna be awful, all right? But it was fascinating to hear how they're doing it. Now, the big debate is why don't they put grass field in MetLife Stadium? All right, why don't they just leave it there? All right? I've been on both sides of this, so I'll give my NFL hat for a second. They've done studies and whatever. Whether you believe it or not, they claim that there's just, the injuries are just as many on grass as there are on turf. All right? And I can tell you, I was in the old Giants Stadium when they put grass down on the field. And they invested a ton of money in that thing. And underneath it was, they heated it from underneath, they put water in it, they would cover it. It was, you should have seen this thing. That air conditioned in the summer so it wouldn't burn. It failed. Because when you have two NFL teams in there, it beats the hell out of the field. And then they also played the high school football games and band competitions. It eats up the field, and the cost is dramatic. So when it's all said and done, I believe that they're going back to the turf. They're going to take it out, and they're going to go back onto the turf. The Giants and Jets just spent money. They invested pretty heavily in the brand new field this year. If you've ever been down on it, it's really pretty amazing. It's very soft, whatever, but that's a debate for another day. Does that answer your question, Joe?
No, yeah, it does. I was just curious. So they're actually moving pieces of the stadium.
Yeah, the two corners of the field are going to go out. You're going to be able to take them out. And we took out, for the World Cup, I think we killed 1,500 seats in order to get that in there. Now, they're going to be able to replace those seats when the NFL comes in. So if you're a Giant season ticket holder, Jet season ticket holder, you're not losing your seat. But we made it there. The issue, by the way, the issue wasn't the size of the field, is they needed more of the dimensions to put the advertisers on the album. They legitimately did, which is why they had to do that. All right? But by the way, the fascinating thing about it is you would be shocked that underneath the field, how much of the television cabling and all that stuff goes underneath it. It would blow your mind how intricate underneath those fields are.
Are most of the stadiums going to be the NFL stadiums, or are they going to be college stadiums? And second of all, what's the role of the NFL in this, if any?
I believe they're all NFL stadiums, except Canada has, well, Mexico certainly has soccer stadiums down there. I believe in the U.S. they're all NFL stadiums. The NFL, from a financial standpoint, has nothing involved in this. We are tenants. We're actually paying rent in the stadium, okay, to the Giants and Jets. But they were a big help in helping us secure getting it. So behind the scenes, they did some politicking, and it was pretty amazing. Ironically, to get the finals, it was between us and Dallas. And it was a hell of a battle. And so we had 2 times, and this guy, Gianni Infantino, who runs it, the guy's a brilliant negotiator. He would go to the Cowboy game on a Sunday knowing that we would see it here, and he'd be sitting, and on TV we'd go, damn, Johnny's with Jerry Jones, all right? And the next day we would make sure he would come up to either a Giant or a Jet game, and he'd spend the time with John Mara or Woody Johnson. So it was really, for a couple of months, it was wild. Yes, sir.
The grass versus artificial thing is an issue that keeps coming up.
Yes.
And more of the pro players now are really
Yes.
concerned because of all the injuries. What's your guess to the future of where it's going? I'm an old hand grass guy, but
Yeah, I wish I know. I'm on both sides of the equation. And I can tell you with the Giants, I've been in those meetings when they really looked at it and they're like, guys, it doesn't make a difference. Where it's going to start affecting it is if they start getting free agents that don't want to come and play here. The day that they lose somebody because they're not going to come play their home games on the grass here is the day that they probably will really start to think about it. But guess what? They haven't lost anybody yet.
One last question?
Okay. So my question is about capacity. So the capacity of MetLife Stadium is about 85,000.
85.
So Rome final was 120,000.
Yeah.
Most stadiums in Europe are over 100,000. So you're talking almost 40,000 less participants at a World Cup final. They're not going to be able to make up that capacity, even ripping out 6 rows, right?
This is a great way to end this. MetLife Stadium is the second biggest stadium in the country. Jerry Jones in Dallas is a little bigger. It gets to what we were talking about earlier. The real money is not in the general admission tickets. It's in your clubs, in your suites. We have more club space than any other stadium in the country. And Jerry Jones has a few more suites in Dallas than we do. Our suites are better location. And I'm gonna tell you why, all right? And this will talk about your grass. So they have to put grass down in Dallas. If you ever go to Dallas and you see the field there, they have suites that are right along the border of the field. So you stand, they're not gonna be there. The grass is gonna be above it. So they had to lose those suites. We didn't lose anything, all right? So it's all about where your premium money comes in. And FIFA can make more money in MetLife Stadium than they can anywhere else because of that exact thing.
Well, thank you so much, Dan. It was
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming. And please come to other Hale speaker series. We'll have a whole new set of speakers next year. Thanks for coming.